We are back. It is the Week 15 Fantasy Football Prep Show. This is the Vampire Fantasy Football Forum. Thank you once again for joining us this week as we prep for our Week 15, our playoff matchups. If you are in the playoffs, if you're not, then still you're hopefully playing for some pride. But hopefully you are in the playoffs, and we are able to help prepare for that with finding players on the margin for your teams this week in your first week of the fantasy football playoffs. Remember, this week we have 3 Saturday games coming up, and then Sunday games again, of course, with then 1 Monday night game. So just remember that as you are setting your lineups for Saturday games. So let's dive into these games here. We have Saturday, Indianapolis at Minnesota. Minnesota is a 4-point favorite. This game has a 48.5 point over-under total for the game. Indy is coming off their bye, and Minnesota is coming off a loss to the Detroit Lions. Now, a couple things to note on the Minnesota side. They are really bad against wide receivers. We saw that against Detroit. So, Michael Pittman, Paris Campbell, I actually think are very good plays here. So if you've held on to Michael Pittman, if you stashed Paris Campbell off the waiver wire, I like those plays here very much this week. Indy is very good against quarterbacks, which they've actually gotten worse over the course of the year against quarterbacks, but they have been typically pretty decent against quarterbacks. So if you have if you have Kirk Cousins, you may be a little bit expect a little bit lower output for him this week. You're still starting Justin Jefferson. You're still starting TJ Hawkinson if you need a tight end to stream. And this is probably a good week or a decent week, I would say, for starting Dalvin Cook. But it's a good week for Jonathan Taylor, as Minnesota is not a tough matchup against running backs. Where I would say the margins lie is on the Indianapolis side. It is Paris Campbell if he's out on the waiver wire. If you need a boom play, he would be the guy. You start Michael Pittman in this game. You don't look back. But you could also, in 2 quarterback leagues, play Matt Ryan, as, again, Minnesota is very susceptible to big plays, especially on the sidelines. That's where Michael Pittman operates. I think this is a big Michael Pittman game for Indianapolis. Next up on Saturday, we have Baltimore and Cleveland. Surprisingly, Cleveland is a 2.5 point favorite. This game is a 38.5 point total. I think Cleveland is a favorite here due to the quarterback play, and the quarterback may not be Tyler Huntley. It may be the third string for Baltimore. On the Baltimore side, there's 2 options that I see for starting. It is J.K. Dobbins, and it is Mark Andrews. Cleveland is actually third worst. By worst, I mean best matchup for running backs. So this would well for J.K. Dobbins. You saw him last week produce well against Pittsburgh. He should continue to do well against that. On the Cleveland side, if you're able to sit Deshaun Watson, he has struggled. We want to see him get better as a football player. You cannot like the person, but you want to see him get better as a football player before you really have to start him in fantasy football. Where I like, again, this week on the margin is Donovan Peoples-Jones. He has been productive. He could outproduce Amari Cooper this week. So we will see on that. Again, this is a lower scoring game. I think it's more about the running backs than it is about the wide receivers. But Donovan Peoples-Jones is my favorite wide receiver in that game. I am not starting any wide receivers for Baltimore if I can avoid it. On to the next Saturday game, the last Saturday game. It is Miami traveling to Buffalo, and Buffalo is a 7.5-point favorite, with this game being a 42-point over-under. Miami gives up big plays. So be prepared for Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis to have boom weeks. Gabe Davis needs a defense like Miami to give a boom week. He is a deep threat. So if you've held on to him, it's frustrating. He is boom bust. But I think Miami giving up big plays bodes well for Gabe Davis. On the Miami side, you are starting Tua, you are starting Hill, you are starting Waddle. But I think where on the margin is against running backs, Buffalo is actually a decent matchup against running backs. So you could start Raheem Mostert with Jeff Wilson being sidelined and feel pretty okay about that potential play. On to the Sunday games. First up, we'll have Kansas City at Houston. Kansas City is a 14-point favorite. This game has a 49-point over-under total. We saw Houston play well against Dallas last week, gave them the upset. We're going to look at Kansas City side and say, look what Jerick McKinnon did against Denver this past week. So therefore, Jerick McKinnon is going to have another big week. I actually think this is going to be an Isaiah Pacheco week. Not to say that Jerick McKinnon does not get the run in Kansas City, but Denver has a good pass rush. Denver has a good blitz defense. Denver is a good defense. Much better than Houston is, right? Jerick McKinnon is used in blitz packages. He's used on third down. He's used to pick up those things because he is the veteran. He knows the schemes. He knows what's going on. He is used in that way, and he was used that way in Denver. Isaiah Pacheco is learning this. I think this is an Isaiah Pacheco week. You honestly can start both of them. You're also starting Kelsey. You're starting Mahomes. You are starting Juju Smith-Schuster. Although Houston, because everybody has such good success running against them, they have a better pass defensive play against wide receivers because of that. But you're still starting them. Juju's probably the only guy I'm starting as a wide receiver, though. On Houston's side, if Dameon Pierce, it appears he has a high ankle sprain. We will see if he misses time, but this bodes well for Rex Burkhead. And if you're looking for a wide receiver to start, because Kansas City is a favorable matchup for wide receivers and quarterbacks. So if you need a streamer in a 2 QB league, Davis Mills could be a streamer. But it's Chris Moore, I think, on the wide receiver sets, more so than Philip Dorsett for Houston. But that is a strictly desperation play if you need it. Next up is the Detroit Lions. They're going to the New York Jets. The Jets, when I'm looking at the lines, are a 1-point favorite. This game is a 44.5-point total. The real question for Detroit this week is going to be, can they handle the pass rush of the Jets? They have not typically done well at that, at handling pressure when they face that. So can this team do well against that? I think this is a down week for DJ Chark. We'll see how much more used Jameson Williams is. I think he has close to a 30% snap share rate. Amon-Ra St. Brown actually has the best matchup for wide receivers, and we'll see if Jamal Williams can get going out of the backfield. On the Jet side, if Mike White is playing, I would stream him. The Lions are a very good matchup for opposing quarterbacks. I also love Garrett Wilson. And if Corey Davis is out with a concussion, which I think he will be, but you will have to monitor that as game time continues, you are able to play Elijah Moore. He is a good play. And I like Zonovan Knight out of the backfield on this one. Next up, Dallas and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Dallas is a 4.5-point favorite. And this game is a 47.5 total over under. On Dallas side, it is pretty straightforward. You start Dak. You start both Zeke and Pollard. Pollard has a higher ceiling, where Zeke has a higher floor. You start Lamb. You can start Gallup in this game against Jacksonville because they have a bad pass defense. But you also start Dalton Schultz as well for tight end. Outside of Kelsey and Kittle, I would say Schultz is probably one of the better options when it comes to production out of for fantasy football purposes. On Jacksonville's side, I like Lawrence in a 2QB league, or if you didn't stream, this is the type of game environment where we will see is he more closer to Kirk Cousins or is he closer to Peyton Manning? This is going to be a good test for him here. If you have Travis Etienne, I'm starting him, but at the same time, like I've said in previous shows, I want to see more workload from him. I want to see more out of the pass catching game from him. But if I have him, I'm starting him. I like Christian Kirk, and you could take a flyer on Zay Jones. But don't expect Evan Ingram to repeat what he did last week. So just be ready for that. On to the next game. It is the Atlanta Falcons at the New Orleans Saints. This game is a 43-point over-under with looks like the Saints as a 4-point favorite here. Both these teams are playing for the division. So it's really kind of interesting. The Saints have a good defense. I don't particularly care to start. It's probably Desmond Ridder, I think, at this point in time that they're starting. But even if it's Mariota, the Saints are pretty average defense when it comes to quarterbacks. So target consolidation with Pitts being out, it's Drake London. So I'm okay starting Drake London in the sense that target consolidation goes to him first and most likely just him. I'm not taking flyers on Olamide Zaccheaus or anybody else. As a running back, it's Cordell Patterson that I only feel confident in starting. On the New Orleans side, you can take a flyer, Andy Dalton. Atlanta is a pretty decent match against quarterbacks, so I don't mind taking a flyer into QB leagues with Andy Dalton. I'm starting Alvin Kamara in this game as Atlanta is a pretty decent matchup. They give up over 100 yards a game on average to running backs. So Mark Ingram's out. I like the potential usage for Alvin Kamara. The only bad receiver I'm starting is Chris Olave. And if you need to stream a tight end, it would be Juwan Johnson here in this game. Next up is Pittsburgh at Carolina. This game is a 38.5-point over-under with Carolina as a 2.5-point favorite. For Pittsburgh, it looks like it's probably going to be Mitchell Trubisky starting in this game. That lowers everybody in this offense. It lowers Najee, it lowers Pickens, it lowers Johnson, it even lowers Pat Freiermuth. So I don't love starting any Pittsburgh Steelers if I have to. Carolina is a really good defense. Okay, so just be aware of that. On the Carolina side, I actually prefer Chuba Hubbard over Jonathan Foreman. He has the pass catching work. Pittsburgh is a decent run defense where you can run the ball effectively against them. On the wide receiver side, DJ Moore's probably going to be out this game. If he's not, you should be monitoring that. But I like Terrace Marshall here. So I like Terrace Marshall as the flyer. If you picked him up on the waiver wire, you should play him here as a flex spot. That's really all I'm starting on the Carolina side. Philly at Chicago. Philly is a 9-point favorite in this game. This game is 48.5-point total. You waited for Justin Fields to come back, and he gets Philadelphia. Now, he could run well against Philadelphia, but they are the toughest team against quarterbacks. They don't allow very many points to quarterbacks. So, you have to be careful with this. Justin Fields is a boom-bust play this week. I don't particularly love any of the Chicago guys, but I could see you starting David Montgomery on a volume play. Just remember, just chasing volume can be tricky when you take out situation. So just remember that as you're chasing volume with David Montgomery in this game. On Philly's side, it's really consolidated. I'm not necessarily starting Dallas Goedert if this is his first game back from after injury, but if it does, then that lowers the target share to both A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, but I'm still starting those guys, and I love starting Miles Sanders. You can run against Chicago. Start Miles Sanders. Next up, New England at Las Vegas. The Patriots are a 1-point favorite with this game total as a 44.5 point favor over under. Mac Jones, this would be the game to start Mac Jones, right? Las Vegas is bottom 10 against quarterbacks. So this would be the game to start Mac Jones. This would be the game to start Jacoby Myers if he's healthy. There's a lot of health issues and concerns coming out of New England. You're going to have to monitor Ramondre Stevenson, what his ankle injury is, if he's able to go. Does Damian Harris get the nod? Is it Kevin Harris? Is it Pierre Strong? Who is it out of the backfield? We don't know. So just remember that. Monitor it, okay? On the Vegas side, I'm starting Adams, and I don't mind starting Carr, because New England, while they are not super scary, I mean, they can be beat through the air. New England is actually the second best run team on paper, behind San Francisco, ahead of Dallas, ahead of Washington, ahead of Tennessee. So this could be a problem area for Josh Jacobs this week. Just remember that. Matt Collins could be an interesting play based off of volume if the Patriots decide to bracket and shadow Davante Adams. Adams is that good, though. You're not benching him if you made it this far with Davante Adams. Next up is Arizona at Denver. Denver is a 2.5 point favorite, but this game is a 36.5 point over under. Denver's probably a favorite in this game because it's Colt McCoy, not Kyler Murray leading the charge. It lowers the opportunity. It lowers the ultimate outcome for both Marquise Brown, DeAndre Hopkins, all the offensive guys for Arizona with Colt McCoy. It's the Tom Savage corollary, right? DeAndre Hopkins has produced with backup quarterback level talent. Colt McCoy can feed DeAndre Hopkins, but I'm concerned about Marquise Brown in this game. I also don't like playing James Conner because Denver is a good defense. Now, on to the Denver side. I'm not going to chase Jerry Jeudy, but it's going to depend on what the health of Courtland Sutton is. If Courtland Sutton's in, I don't like playing Jeudy. If Courtland Sutton's out, I much prefer Jeudy, but that's about it. And then you can play tight end against Arizona, so I love Greg Dulcich in this game. Death, taxes, play tight ends against Arizona. Those are the things we know. So play Greg Dulcich. It's a Greg Dulcich game for Denver this week. Tennessee at the Los Angeles Chargers. I don't have a spread or total on this game with what I'm looking at this week. But on the Tennessee side, you are playing Derrick Henry. If Treylon Burks is back, I'm playing Treylon Burks. The Chargers can be beat on the outside. We've seen that. The Chargers defense is getting better, but they can still be beat. Okay? So I like Treylon Burks. I don't mind streaming Ryan Tannehill this week as well, especially in a QB league. If you need a replacement, Ryan Tannehill is not a bad streamer. And then I like playing Chig Okonkwo for Tennessee. You need a tight end. You've been streaming tight end all year. If you have Chig Okonkwo, I'm playing Chig Okonkwo this week. On the Chargers side, it could be a down week for Austin Eckler. Now, against pass-catching running backs, Tennessee gives up about 6 receptions a game with about 41 yards on average. So it could be a down week for Austin Eckler. However, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, they're back, which elevates Justin Herbert. It elevates that offense. You can pass against Tennessee. I like the pass options for the Chargers this week. Cincinnati at Tampa Bay. This should not be a close game, but it probably will be a closer game than what we think it will. Cincinnati is a 3.5 point favorite with the game total at 44. Look, you have to monitor T. Higgins. If he's in, you're probably playing him. But just to know, hamstring injuries, especially late in the year, tend to plague players. If Cincinnati is going for a Super Bowl again, they may rest T. Higgins. You're going to play Chase. You're going to play Burrow. You're going to play Mixon. But just remember, this is not a weak Tampa Bay defense, despite what happened last week. Don't be fooled by that. On Tampa Bay side, I'm avoiding, if I can, both Rachaad White and Leonard Fournette. Rachaad White is the better back in this backfield. We all know that. We all see that with our eyes. But it's a timeshare. It's a time split between both these backs in this backfield. I am playing Evans. Progressionally, I'm playing Evans. But I love Godwin this game. I'm running out of the slot. And if I need, I will stream K-Dotton still for this. I don't particularly love Tom Brady, but at the same time, it could be okay. This game total is not too terrible. Next up, we have the New York Giants at the Washington Commanders. These teams are playing for a playoff spot. Both 7-5-1. The Commanders have a 4.5 point favorite with the over/under at 40. The Commanders' defense is better as of late, and we have not pivoted to that. We should, because they are fourth best behind San Francisco, New England, Dallas against running backs. This is going to be a problem for Saquon. This is a problem for Daniel Jones. This is going to be a game Washington wins. I'm still going to play Saquon, because if you've played Saquon up until this point, you're not stopping. You play your studs. It's a tough matchup, but you still play them. Just be aware of that as you go into this game. On the Washington side, I hope they keep Taylor Heinicke in. I know they're activating Carson Wentz, but I hope Taylor Heinicke stays in. They honestly have the better chance of winning when Taylor Heinicke is at the helm. I like Terry McLaurin here. As a flyer, I'll take Jahan Dotson, not Curtis Samuel. But I think also it's better to have Antonio Gibson be the lead out of the backfield in this game as well. The New York Giants are not the worst matchup against running backs. So Brian Robinson could be there, but I prefer Antonio Gibson out of this backfield. Last game on this slate is the LA Rams at the Green Bay Packers. This is the Monday night game. Packers are a 7-point favorite. This game has a 39.5 over/under. We all saw it. Baker Mayfield led the Rams back in the Monday night or the last Thursday night game that they were in. I'm avoiding the Rams side though here. Green Bay actually has a really good defense. I don't love playing any Rams, if I'm honest. If you're taking a flyer, it's Cam Akers that leads out of the backfields. But we can't forget about Kyren Williams. The lead wide receiver, I would take Skoranek because he gets the volume. I understand Van Jefferson got the touchdown last week, but I'm going to take volume over touchdowns. On Green Bay's side, this could be the game for Aaron Rodgers. If you need a flyer, you're hoping Aaron Rodgers is able to get you something this week. I'm going to take Aaron Rodgers as the streamer this week, right? I'll play Allen Lazard. I'm going to play Aaron Jones. I'm going to play Christian Watson if he's available. So, hopefully this helps you in your week 15, that first week of fantasy football playoffs. Hopefully this helps you in this week. I hope the best of luck to you that are playing, and may you compete for championships in the next few weeks. We will see you for the Week 15 reaction show later.